Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome. We are once again live, and it is Friday somehow again. And I hope you all are doing well. All right, I'm gonna get the chat synced. No, not this. I don't need the whole stream. I just need to pop out the chat. There we go. And I hope you all are having a good week so far. It is finally getting to be like actual fall weather here. A little bit. It's like 72 today, which is still like not very cold, but it's like kind of chilly in here right now. I think it's probably in like normal room temperature in here at the minute, which I'm like not used to after not having AC. I think there's gonna be like a little bit more nice-ish weather. Let me see here. I'm like still, oh, my phone still isn't fixed, by the way, either. It's a whole other can of worms. Oh yeah, I guess it's, oh, actually tomorrow it's gonna be like almost 80 degrees here. So, you know, I guess I'm going to spend probably a lot of time outside tomorrow, hopefully. Guess what finally happened? What finally happened? I so want to know. Oh, are you finally a 12-month member? Is that what it is? Or is that completely unrelated? Thank you for becoming I think it might be the first 12-month member, Twixie. You have received the custom bandit wearing a tiny crown. Little marker by your icon. So thank you for being the first person to unlock that. I've been patiently waiting. So patiently waiting. We finally got some fall weather, then immediately heated back up. Yeah, I think it might do a little bit of this for a while. Usually by like, for sure, end of October, it'll be like we're locked into the cold weather. Sometimes through like early October, it can still be warm. Like I think last year it was, but I think this year after this next weekend, it's going to be like the mid 60s and rainy. So yay for us. Bye-bye summer. Bye-bye. The dog is way over there. Why are you over there, honey? You're so far away. Come here. Come here, my darling. Hi. Come here. Would you like to say hello? Hi, girl. Come here. Get closer. You're too far away. Come over here. You every time. Yeah, and then you do your whole little routine. And then you get picked up. Hi, sweetie. Hello, baby. What were you doing all the way over there? Getting into trouble? I don't think so. It's not allowed. All right, so, hi. My name's Evie Lupine. Welcome to my live stream here. On Fridays, we live stream for 2 hours starting at 6 p.m. and I answer y'all's questions. And we talk about what is going on and we share thoughts and stories and such. And it's a very lovely time. In order to make this possible, we have a feature here on YouTube that is brand new that I actually have not opened yet because every single time I do it, I like can't remember how to do it. What do I do? But actually, what do I do? How do I... Does it not work if I have it in the pop-out? Maybe that's what it is. Oh, here we go. It's like a whole other separate button. Ask your hi dog. What I should do is actually, I should start the stream early and then start the Q&A early. Ask your questions here. Aw, puppy, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. All right, so we have our FAQ, and that'll be highlighted. It's like a white bar at the top of the chat. You can put your questions in there. I will do my best to scan and look for questions that are not in the Q&A, especially early on, because it's like a new thing. We're still testing it out. It depending on if you're on desktop or mobile or what version you're using, it might show up in different places, just FYI, but there's a Q&A. You can put your questions there, and it'll basically preserve it so it doesn't get lost in the rest of the chat. That's just like the general one you normally see on screen. And it just makes it so I'll like I definitely know it's a question if it's in there. If you don't put it in there, if you don't use a super chat, then I'm not going to necessarily always know it's a question and I might miss it. But if you want to make sure that I answer a question, asking early and using the Q&A feature is always a great tool. You can also use a super chat with Streamlabs, and that will highlight your question and it'll show up on screen. They'll answer it as soon as possible when I'm done with the current question that I'm on. And you can also directly do it through YouTube as well. The difference is basically just like YouTube takes 30%, whereas Streamlabs doesn't do that. So if you'd like to not give free money to Google, you can just use Streamlabs and it does the exact same thing. So you have that option down below, or you can go through YouTube, doesn't matter. But that is essentially what you need to know about that. Otherwise, we answer questions about BDSM, kink, relationships, dating, pop culture things, other random stuff that might be on people's minds. And that's usually the wheelhouse that we are in, queer issues and stuff as well, obviously. And we have a nice little community here that contributes their own thoughts, which is also really nice. And yeah, that is basically it as far as what I don't answer. It's kind of like whatever y'all want to talk about could be a topic. I put some ideas in the title of a live stream, just things that are on my mind or stuff that I'm working on, you know, that are brewing in my brain somewhere. And on top of that, we can talk about whatever you want. I don't answer questions about like medical advice or like if it's like a doctor question. If it's a thing you would ask your doctor, don't ask me. It's a good rule of thumb. If you're like, should I ask Evie if I should get this kind of blood test? I'm going to be like, talk to a doctor. Maybe go to the Red Cross website. I don't know. Talk to a medical professional because I am not one of those. But other than that, please be respectful. Listen to the mods. Listen to me as well. Don't spam the chat. This is not a live stream with like 30,000 concurrent viewers. I'm not going to miss your question that easily. You don't need to ask it over and over and over and over again. I will probably see it the first time. And if I don't, I give people a 15-minute warning at the end of the stream. So if for some reason I did not get to your question and you're pretty sure it's like a good one and you want to make sure I get to it, you can ask it again at the very end, and then I try to do like a speed round answer session for a couple of things. And thank you so much to Twixie for the 10 gifted memberships. We do also have memberships here on the YouTube channel, and they're very simple, and it's 99 cents because that's as cheap as I could possibly make them. And it gives you access to the emotes in the chat, and you also get a cute little Pomeranian icon next to your name in the chat with various little hearts and crowns and such like it. It's very adorable. So if you would like to, you can use that. Or you don't have to. It's up to you. You choose your own adventure situation. And with that being said, I think let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to read through some of the just regular top chat or live chat. Let's do live chat. I think that's probably the usual one here. Okay. Also, I am very tired today, and I did have my blood drawn. So if I seem a little low energy, it's because of that. So I feel like, I don't know. You get a lot of vials of blood taken out of you for blood work, and it just kind of, ugh. I had a protein bar afterwards, and I thought it was going to perk me up, but I'm still a little sleepy. Just as a warning. Yeah, I was trying to finish writing something before the stream, and I did not at all get a chance to finish it before the stream started, so ended up posting the stream a little later than I normally do, but it is what it is. That's how it works. I also was at the doctor's office for 2 hours today. It was so long. And including drive time, it was I don't know, it was a long time. The whole middle part of my day between 1:30 and 4 p.m. was doctor stuff. That's not it's so hard to do anything with your day when the whole middle part of it is a doctor's appointment. It's you have a couple hours kind of earlier in the day to really get into stuff, but my brain isn't fully online first thing in the morning, so I don't normally do a lot of work in the morning. I normally am just doing house stuff and unloading the dishwasher or putting laundry in. And then I get home and it's 4 and it's oh, well, I have 2 hours before my live stream is supposed to start. So I guess I'll eat a protein bar and try to write. And then, oh my God, it's 5:30. It's more or less how it went. Ooh, hummus and naan sounds really good. I do love hummus and soft pita bread, but I don't buy just pita bread very often. I actually have trouble finding the kind that I like. It's like the pillowy, soft kind. So normally I just do tortillas, but that's also a good option. Week was exhausting. I'll probably get over it when I see my check on Friday. I hope so. Sometimes the paycheck makes it all worth it, but until you get to that point, oof. Yeah, just oof. Yeah, that was the guess what, yeah. Okay, so speaking of questions that did not end up in the Q&A filter, we have our first question here from Johnny Prince Charlie. Hi, Evie. Early question. I have to break up with my nesting partner who moved in a month ago. Oh, no. I'm so sorry. Nobody did anything wrong, but I just couldn't say no at the various escalation points, and she's moved in. Any tips for breaking up with someone you live without it being too dramatic or explosive? Oh, my God. Okay. What's your living? Do you rent? Did you sign a lease together? Like, I don't know how that works. Maybe they just moved in and like maybe you were still on your own individual lease and like you were going to sign something together eventually. I hope it's they moved into your place. I really hope that the situation is just that you're on your own lease still. They didn't sign anything, and that will make it really easy because boy howdy. So I'm okay. Processing. I am so glad for you that you were able to get to a point where you realized this can't keep going. I should have said no at various other points, but I didn't. And I have been there before in relationships. I'm actually like very, very, very picky about any sort of potential nesting partnerships for this reason, because I've been in relationships before where I started to nest someone, and like even before we started nesting, and like didn't really feel right, but they were like, "Oh, it would be so good if we lived together, and like this would be so much better," and la la la. And like I didn't really have any experience living with partners, so I just sort of took it on their word that like, "Oh, well, like, you know, maybe this is a really positive thing," and like it seemed like it was a big step in the relationship, which it is, and that was exciting too. So I got kind of like swayed into living with somebody that when I actually stopped and thought about it, I was like not actually ready to live with. And it wasn't even that the relationship was bad. It just was like I wasn't ready to live with somebody yet. And we were doing things on their timeline and not on mine. And then eventually we ended up parting and we didn't live together anymore. And it was messy, at least in part because of like the lease situation. And you know, again, when you're on paperwork together, everything becomes more complicated. So I think because of these circumstances, there will always be a degree of messiness involved, because how do you not live together anymore so quickly after moving in a way that's not going to be disruptive? It's my apartment. Oh, you own it. Okay, so ownership isn't an issue, thankfully. It's mine with a mortgage. Oh, sweet. Okay, great. That definitely makes it a lot easier. So, I mean, God, there's no nice, pretty way of doing it, but I think the longer you put it off, the worse it'll always be. So if you can find a time period where things are relatively calm, right? It's not like the end of a busy week. It's not like Monday morning getting ready to go to work. Like a nice weekend, you know, maybe like a Saturday afternoon, okay? Not when you're in the middle of doing anything special. Don't like lead up with something that seems romantic, like, you know, going out on a date or, you know, doing something romantic together. Just like when you find time and during a casual part of the weekend, when you're not super busy, not super stressed, you can just be like, hey, so I wanted to check in about like, you know, how living together is going for you. Which actually maybe that might be a little deceptive. Maybe I wouldn't go that route, actually, that I've said it out loud. But like I think leaning in with like a, hey, like I'd like to kind of check in about how things are going. And that will give you an opportunity to hear what they're thinking and feeling, and then you can also share too. And like you can put it on them to kind of share things first about like, you know, how do you think living together is going? You know, like, is this, oh my God, Doc, do not lick my keyboard. You're licking my keyboard. Why? That's so weird, little dog. Yeah, okay. Well, you're very special. But yes, if you can like maybe leave with like just checking in, and then they can talk to you about how they're going, and then you can start to talk about how you're feeling about it, and you should probably just say like, hey, thank you so much for sharing with me. I need to be honest, like, I don't think this is working for me, and I know that you just moved in here, and like asking you to no longer live with me, like, so suddenly is like going to be a really big change, but I just don't think that our relationship was ready for you to move in yet. And we're also going to break up too, right? Her son just got married and we had a holiday. I was holding off on breaking up with her until that was done, although I want to do it before we go on another holiday next week. Oh my god, yeah, if you're on a timeline, buddy, let's get this done. Let's do it this weekend, huh? Let's do it when you have time to like maybe help her move out or do something. Okay, so son just got married. You just had a holiday, so like you went on vacation. Okay, so I did that. I've also been in that position too, and this is like advice that I've gotten before, because I've been there where it's like, oh, but there's people's birthdays, and then it's the holidays, and it's this, and it's our anniversary, and it's like, there's never going to be a perfect time to do this, and like trying super hard to time it is just going to make it worse, because then it's still lasting for longer. And I think like you're in a pocket right now where you can make it as unpainful. Like, you're not going to break up on a vacation, right? And that's awkward. Or you're not going to break up at a time when, you know, maybe she's already going through the middle of a lot of stuff. So bring up how things are going, and then you can break the news to her that like, hey, this isn't working for me. I don't think I'm ready. Like, you can even, if you can't resist the urge, you can buffer it a little bit and make it so it's not necessarily, it's like, it's not you, it's me, right? But like, you know, I'm not ready to live with somebody yet. This isn't working out how I thought it would, or like this isn't feeling for me the way that I thought it would, and I'm like really sorry, but like I don't think that we should see each other anymore. And just like make it really direct. And this is the hard part. Is if you are somebody, and I think your brain's probably like mine a little bit, where you want to be compassionate and you want to take somebody else's feelings into account, but you can't let that sugarcoat what you're saying too much, because then they're only going to pay attention to the sugar. I've had this happen to me before, where I've literally had to break up with someone like 3 or 4 different times because I was too nice about it, and they did not get the message that like no meant no, the relationship is over, there's no wooing me, there's no talking me into being in a relationship again, that's not a thing, it's not gonna happen. And because I was like, oh well, like you know, like this isn't working for me, and like I'm just really not happy here, and like I don't see a future, like I should have just said, as painful as it is to say, like this isn't working out, I don't want to live with anybody, like this means our relationship is over, like we're done. Like just make it super clear. And I think actually by being clear, you are being kind, even if it doesn't feel kind, right? Like you're not like taking all of her stuff out of your apartment and then like leaving it on the curb, right? You're not throwing everything she owns into garbage bags without her permission. Like you're giving her notice, you're being honest about your feelings. And I'm assuming you're not kicking her out immediately. Like you're going to probably give her time to like find a new place to live or to make other arrangements or whatever. And so by being as clear as possible, you're giving her brain an opportunity to understand what's happening. Because if you sugarcoat it too much and you're too nice, again, they're going to hear the sugar and they'll taste the sugar. And they're going to be like, oh, well, like maybe there's hope. And maybe if I just cry enough, or I give a really good argument, or I talk them into it, or whatever, they're going to take me back. And if you're really, and like, you know, maybe you're really sad about like, I do not want to date you. Sometimes some people, they're going through a breakup, they're initiating it, and even when they're really firm, especially if a relationship is really deeply bonded and you like maybe you know you have a life together, you have kids together, maybe the breakup is like a wake-up call for doing like serious fucking work and like doing intensive therapy and doing what you need to do to make things like actually go the way that you want them to go. But if you're not in that position and it's not like, I need you to demonstrate that you're capable of working or anything like that, it's just, it's done, then like, let them know it's done, you know? Yeah, I don't think there's a good time to have a breakup. I think I just need to do it and acknowledge it. We'll probably both get hurt. Yeah. I mean, breakups, that's the thing. Breakups, there's always going to be pain. There's always going to be discomfort when you're breaking up with somebody. You can minimize it, and you can be kind, but you'll be kinder to both yourself and them if you just like don't beat around the bush and you don't delay and you make it really clear about what's going to happen. If you want, and I would even set like conversational boundaries, maybe initially during this conversation about like if they start getting into like asking you a lot of questions about like why it's happening and blah, 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 you can even just say like, hey, I don't think that was a good time to talk about this. If you're the kind of person you want to do a lot of processing around a breakup, I'm more that way. I like letting people know like, hey, this is like what happened. This is why things didn't work. Because I, maybe naively, have the hope that if I give people information about why a breakup is happening, that they're going to change and maybe... Maybe if they couldn't for me, maybe for somebody else, they'll like do the work and go to therapy and like not do certain behaviors anymore. This will be kind of the like, you can't do this in a relationship moment. And that has never actually happened. I've never seen anyone. It's a naive hope. I've never communicated with somebody that's an ex of mine now and then found out that they like, actually, you know what? I'm really glad that we broke up because it was the wake up call I needed. And then I did all this therapy and now I'm better and I don't do that shit anymore. Never happens. But I have hope. So I try to give people information and hope that they can be better in the future for themselves and others. And that's like important to me. But if you don't want to do that because you're afraid of being emotionally manipulated into reversing your breakup decision, then just like don't go there. And they can cry and they can scream and they can carry on and they can slam doors and they can do whatever. But you have to be a broken record and just say, hey, I get it. You can have whatever feelings you want about this, but that doesn't change how I feel. And just like repeat that to yourself and to them as many times as necessary. And eventually... what you're trying to do, okay, talking in like psychological behavioral terms, right? What you're trying to do is you're trying to extinguish an attachment. And that's hard because attachments are really big deals in our lives. And we want to hang on to them even when they're kind of garbage and they kind of suck because attachments are just inherently rewarding for most human beings to have. And so they're going to slap the attachment button like a rat that wants a peanut, okay? And so they're going to try. They're like, well, like it stopped. Normally it gives me a peanut every time. And like this time it didn't. But I'm going to keep pressing the button because maybe if I just press it like 20 times, it'll give me a peanut again. 50 times, 100 times. And they're going to try really fucking hard. They're going to go through like an extinction burst probably of like, I'm going to just try really fucking hard to still be able to get this peanut before I admit to myself that the peanut machine is broken and doesn't have any more peanuts in it for me. So if you could endure the extinction burst portion of it where they're going to try really, really hard to maintain that connection, you're good after that. Or maybe they'll surprise you and maybe they'll be like, yeah, you know what? I also kind of maybe feel like this isn't working out the way that we wanted to. And like, thanks for saying something. And like, I didn't have to be the one to do this. Like, yeah, that happens too sometimes. And you initiate a breakup and you assume it's going to be one-sided. And then they're like, hey, you know what? You're right. But if it's somebody who like was looking for, it's like the implication of what you're telling me about this experience is it sounds like it maybe is somebody who's looking for a yes as opposed to hearing a no. And if they're not listening for your enthusiasm appropriately, if they're not taking stock of what you want and are kind of just seeing what you'll say yes to, they might not be that person. They might just be like, oh, well, but you were my housing gravy train, right? Oh, no worries, Sean. Thank you, Sean. I was like, oh no, Sean had a story that they wanted to share. Did you get to send me the story that you wanted me to share, Sean, on FetLife? My version of that is ask yourself if you could snap your fingers and instantly be out of a relationship. If yes, you need to do it, and I do. Yes, I haven't heard that before. That's actually a really good rule of thumb. If like the other rule of thumb that I have too is if you actually go through the breakup process or you play it out in your head. If you play out the breakup process in your head and the main or only emotion you feel is relief or hopefulness, like that's the sign, baby. Like you gotta, as your brain is like, I'm glad that's over with. Then like that meant the breakup needed to happen. And you can have complicated feelings about breakups. Don't get me wrong. You can feel hopeful and sad. You can feel grief and relief. Like, you can have emotions mixed together. It's not always super clear cut. But if you feel a lot of relief practicing going through the thought of breaking up with somebody, then it's a sign, right? So maybe all you really need is permission for me to do this breakup. But like, you know what you got to do. Go forth and do it. Maybe not right this very second, but like, find a good time. Don't delay it until the last possible minute. And the honestly, like, if you're thinking about breaking up with someone, they might even pick up on it a little bit before you actually do it. So between the time when you've made the decision to break up and then when you actually do it, like, minimizing the amount of time between those 2 points is, I think, an important and also, again, kind thing to do. But good luck. Good luck. Anyways, I think that is where I'll end it for now. Definitely check in and let us know how it went. I hope you come back here next week and you're like, oh yeah, like, I did the breakup and it was hard, but like, you know, I'm helping her move out and like, we're looking at places to live. And when you go through, and then maybe I'll say this as like a last thought. Again, I'm the kind of person, so I'm speaking for me, where I feel I have obligation for people that I've had relationships with. And even if I've broken up with them, unless they've been like a real piece of shit, like, I like giving them a soft landing as much as possible. So if that's like, you know, helping with packing up stuff, if that's helping them find movers or look at apartments, like, also that facilitates you making sure that the breakup and moving out is actually going to happen and it's not going to be delayed forever. But I like to make sure there's soft landing. So I have a lot of emotional capacity typically in breakups to do that kind of behavior. But you don't actually have an obligation to do that. Once the attachment is severed, when you're no longer in a relationship, you owe them the kind of bland kindness that you give to any person on the street, any sort of grocery store, the clerk, whoever that you interact with. That level of niceness. You don't have to go out of your way to help them with anything unless it would help you or you feel like you want to. But you don't let them, you know, and, you know, it's one thing if maybe, I don't know, you maybe paid them they paid you a damage deposit or something. You know, if you felt like it would make things go more smoothly, like you could pay for movers, you could do stuff if you want to, but you don't have any obligation. It's more just you weighing like what behavior from you is going to get you the outcome that you want in the quickest time period. Because if you're just going to wait on them to do everything for their own move out, they might really drag their feet, and maybe you kind of like pushing that along with kindness is a not completely terrible idea. But I don't know, that's my perspective on it. I think that's potentially something that could backfire too. Like, if you're too nice is the thing. If you're too nice, they might read it as like, oh, there's still a chance. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt and apply that to what makes sense for your relationship. But yeah, you are very welcome. Good luck. Check back in. Let me know how it's going, and I'll keep my fingers crossed, because I actually have a friend who went through a kind of similar experience a couple weeks ago where it wasn't a month in, but it was like a couple months into living with somebody, and they had a breakup kind of suddenly. And it probably, like, as a friend, I could see between the lines of like, oh, you're going to live with that person? Okay. I didn't think it was going to work out. But, you know, when you're a friend, you can't just, you know, there's a time they ask you your opinion about, like, do I think that living with that person's a good idea? I would say no. I'd be like, well, I don't think I can see why I think you have these relationship issues, and I understand that now's like a good opportunity, but I think you should probably work on these things first before you live with somebody. And then, you know, but that opportunity didn't come up. So I just have had to watch them, and then suddenly it's like, oh, you guys are breaking up? Oh, that's really sad. I'm so shocked. And like, I am actually sad for them. Don't worry. But also, like, you know, it's still like when you're outside the relationship, it's so much easier to tell when something's a bad idea. When it's like, you just don't have those rose-colored glasses on, so you can make a more accurate assessment of where the relationship is at and if it's going to be healthy long-term or not. But yeah, it sucks. And they're still in the process of like figuring out, this is like also recent-ish, so I think their plan is they're going to stay in through the lease, though. Like, they're just going to try to be platonic roommates, kind of awkwardly. But it's, you know, but they're also they're in a rental, they have a lease. and they're not really in a position where either one of them can like easily afford to move out and immediately put down a new damage deposit and all the rest on a new place. So it's kind of what they're stuck with. And that sounds like hell, and I don't want to ever end up there. So I don't put myself in positions where that's possible. All right, so I remember we saw a question from Mr. Beansman. Ooh, okay, good question, Mr. Beansman. Looking to get a deer flogger and was wondering about the general feel and sensation. So if you want to get a deer flogger, it's... Okay, so outside of fur floggers, for leather floggers, maybe next to like goat kid or like sheep, maybe it's the softest leather. Those ones are a little bit lighter and a little like not even necessarily spongier, but they're just more airy. Whereas deer, and there's different varieties of it. So like you can have New Zealand deer, you can have just like regular old like North American whitetail deer. Like there's different ones you can have, and they get tanned differently. So there's a little variation in sensation, but it tends to be, to me, no sting, pretty light overall. If it has any sensation to it, very light thud, like 0 sting, 2 out of 10 thud, using at like maximum velocity. And it's very massagey, very gentle, really good warm-up toy. And something that if Top likes to play with the idea of using a toy as hard as they possibly can, like a deer flogger is a good way to do that without actually breaking your bottom and doing something that actually is really intense. The downside is that deer, from my understanding, I haven't actually ever had this happen to a toy, but this is like something that people say is possible. If you use a deer flogger really hard, especially for extended periods, you can stretch the leather out and warp it a little bit just because of the nature of the leather. But if you're not doing that, then it will stay probably just fine. So I really like deer. It's a really, really good, like if anyone's like, I want to try flogging, I'm a brand new bottom, what do I start with? What's the easiest? Flogging with a deer flogger is like baby's first flogging experience. Like unless you are doing something with either like a fur, like a rabbit fur, or like a sheepskin or something, there's not anything else that's softer you can even try. But there's no sting. If you wanted sting, like cowhide's a pretty good one. Honestly, most leather floggers have some kind of sting to them. As somebody who is a thuddy bottom, where if I feel any sting at all from any object, I can just tell it's there. So basically any other leather material would probably be better if what you want is sting. Whether that's the really far end of like bootlace and latigo over to like water buffalo, I would say elk and moose are the thuddiest with the least amount of sting, that they can have a little bit in here. And then cowhide is probably like the all-timer, like that just has sting in it kind of no matter what you do. But yeah, floggers are fun. That's a really good one to start with. Great warm-up toy. And even if you get it and it's too light for you, or you don't think you want to do a full scene with it, it's always a good general warm-up toy for any other kind of impact play you're doing. Even if you're going from like flogging into like a caning or something, or flogging into like paddles, or flogging into like heavier floggers. That one, or like whips too, even. If you want to have a good way to warm up all of the skin as quickly as possible, a flogger will do that for you no matter where you're at in your kink journey. But we are going to go ahead and bop over to Sean's question really quickly here. Let me get my FetLife pulled up. You are just so snuggly today, little dog. You normally don't want to be in my lap for this long. You're so sweet. What's with us, huh? We just like being on my lap. We've learned that's a fun thing to do. She's normally not like a huge lap dog, but the last couple of times I've been streaming, she's like wanted up on my lap at the beginning of the stream, and it's really sweet. And people do kind of miss being able to see you on camera, though, my sweetheart. But I'm sure you'll jump down eventually, and you'll get back to a camera spot, huh? Yeah. Okay. I also have all the soft blankets on me currently, so maybe it's not even a me thing. Maybe she just likes the soft blankets. That is also a distinct possibility. And then remember, if you want me to answer your question, the best place to do it is using the Q&A feature. Otherwise, I cannot promise I get to it. If you want to put in questions in the general chat as well, I think we learned last time that if you use the Q&A feature to put in a question, it won't show that to like the general chat. So if you'd also like to hear thoughts and feedback from other people in the community besides me, also putting your question in the general chat is a good idea too. All right, sweetheart. Hello. Okay, all right. And we're going over to our inbox here. Da, da, da. Okay. Are we ready for this week's Sean story? Listening to this while making a Magic the Gathering deck because the real impact play is the mental impact this process has on me. That's funny. Well, I'm glad I can help with that. Be background noise. I use YouTube as background noise all the time, so I love when people use me as background noise because it's like, oh, that's how I use YouTube. But anyways, alrighty. So this is our story about a recent femdom party. This was a femdom party, so all attendees were to be submissive. I was the first into the dungeon proper and was immediately grabbed by a dom that dragged me by a collar and leash into a playroom where a total of 6 doms congregated on me. Oh, I remember. Was this like pre-negotiated, or was this one of those things where it's like kind of like a CNC type situation? They were all playing with me in various ways, and I was expected to thank them by their chosen title and name, which was a big mindfuck. If I got it wrong, I got punished. Oh, so you had to know, you had to like memorize all their names and stuff. Oh, I see. I got punished even if I couldn't see who was doing what because of my position. We even did some wax play. Lots of fun. Ooh, big variety in there. After that, I took a quick break. Then one of the doms who sees me at the newbie and Edgeplay parties decided to hook me up by my cuffs to what I thought was a decoration, but it was metal and had eye hooks on it. Oh, okay. So it's like a sort of a little hidden stand for stashing people. I was flogged extensively, then whipped for quite a while. That put me into my first nonverbal subspace. Ooh, exciting. Congratulations. Hopefully people were able to pick up on that. The dom was doing some edge play with various implements. I think that left the marks on my back was a Wartenberg wheel. Then she realized that I was deep and nonverbal and she took me down. Good. We like that responsible doming. Yay. And had some help to get me to the bench for aftercare. She kept me warm and made sure I got back and my head and I was hydrated, etc. Oh, that's so sweet. I hear so many stories about people who go nonverbal for the first time and their partner like doesn't notice and they just keep playing forever, and then when they do notice it, they're just like, ooh, this is fun, and they just like keep going and they don't stop the scene. And I feel like that's the mark of a really good dom, when they can see what you're going through, they can pick up on enough of your experience to check in, and then when they see that, they don't keep playing with you and they're like, oh, we need to stop now. Because until you've negotiated to continue play when you get to a nonverbal space, you can't assume that's okay. And that's like a both people have to consent thing, because when a sub or any bottom is nonverbal, like there are doms who just like don't play with that because maybe the types of play that they do or just how they are as a person. Yeah, you want more pets? Okay. The pet machine must continue. There's so many places where you can go wrong with a nonverbal partner to where some people just don't want to play with that. So dom stopping the scene, checking in, getting you all right as rain again. That's beautiful. Again, we love responsible doming. Great. Perfect. Because some people will, like I said, just play right through that and like they probably won't even notice, TBH. Everything was the most fun I've had at a party. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you went to nonverbal subspace, which doesn't necessarily always mean the scene went well. Some people have brains where they go into nonverbal subspace and it has nothing to do with whether or not they had a fun time. It's just like the intensity of sensation is so overwhelming that even if they're not really enjoying themselves, they can like fall into that headspace just because adrenaline. Yeah. Hi, girly. What are you doing? You're so snooged. But yes, anyways, continuing on with the story. They didn't have any real chances to practice bottom. I noticed a couple eyeing the wax play booth and walked in with the top for the booth and asked them if they wanted to try it. They were scared, so I offered to bottom for them to watch. They enjoyed the mini scene, which covered my whole back with wax. They had questions about my experience, which I answered, and they were happy. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so nice. Yeah, I mean, it's good you were able to spot that and then like help them out. Because yeah, a lot of people are like, "Ooh, this seems interesting," but like I'm scared and like, what does it feel like? And having somebody they can directly ask those questions to, especially in person, is a big positive for a lot of folks. The rest of the party was spent answering any questions, which were none, and help with negotiation of scenes, which was also none. Got to bottom for kicking. Loved the thud. Oh yeah, kicking is really fun, especially with boots. It can be tricky to do it in dungeons though, because a lot of dungeons, the space where you can do kicking has mats, but then you can't wear shoes on the mats, so then you can only do like foot contact, and then like sometimes it's not people's thing, or like it just is a different sensation. But boots are fun, kicking is fun. It sounds really extreme, but it does not have to be extreme at all. It can be very light and very massagey, right? Like, you know, like shiatsu, or is it ashiatsu? I think it's ashiatsu something. The one where they walk on your back, the Japanese one. Like that exists, and that's not, you know, you're not like getting beaten to a pulp while doing that. So it all exists in degrees. Info on my FetLife, and on Halloween, I'll be part of a performance for the House of Taz party where I'll be co-taught by 2 different women. I'm very excited. Well, I hope that goes well. Thank you again for sharing. We love all of the updates. And thank you for the example of responsible doming, because we get enough tales of things gone wrong. It's good to have a counterpoint of like, here's a time where it went correctly. So good. I'm happy for you. Excellent. I think clear visual communication can be an option, but it would take some work, maybe not for pick up play. Yeah. If you're with a new partner, like, okay, like we haven't established if they blink twice, is that maybe they just have like a dry eye? Like, or maybe they're trying to communicate with me. Like, it's too ambiguous. But with a longer term partnership, even if somebody goes nonverbal, and I actually think it's a good idea, even if you haven't seen somebody go nonverbal before, because like everything's imperfect, doesn't even necessarily mean anything about the bottom's ability to communicate, but your ability to pick up on people's signals. Or it could be the environment, or maybe things are too loud or too dark or whatever. So build in different things that make it possible for you to communicate regardless of the circumstances. So verbal communication, nonverbal communication, having a backup method like doing something with like eye blinking, or dropping something, or tapping on something, or squeezing something. Especially if you like maintaining like physical contact during a scene, or even just planning to like just keep regular check-ins. Just so you have that option. And then a plan where you're explicitly like, hey, if I found that you go nonverbal, do you want me to keep going or not? And then you go from there. All right, you ready to come down, my lovely? I think you might be. You seem like you're ready to go. Oh, you're so sweet, honey. I love all your snuggles, but you have so many places to go snuggle. You have so many places you could be snuggly. Where do you want to go, honey? Have we decided? He's thinking about it. We'll see where she ends up. I might move her. She's not currently in a camera position, but she is trying to scope out what I'm up to, so there's that. But thank you again for this story, Sean. Okay, so I'm gonna look to see if there were any other questions that I missed right at the beginning before I set up the Q&A, and then we'll switch over to the Q&A. What are you doing, sweetie? Are you being silly? You seem like you're being a little silly. Hi. Hi, my silly girl. Aw, hi, silly girl. Hi, silly baby. I pick you up. We pick you up and then put you on the bed. You just hang out there for a little bit. No, we don't want to? Okay. You don't have to, honey. Come over here. Why did you come over here? Huh? Over here. Yeah. You're probably just gonna follow me, huh? I don't know if you're just gonna stay over there. She has more energy than she normally does when I stream. I think because I was gone earlier today and we couldn't go on our normal walk. So she's like, I don't want to lay down. I want to hang out. I want to move around. I want to do stuff. I think I'm gonna try to get the camera set up though for right now. Before I get into anything else. Where is the pet camera? Ta-da! There we go. Yep, there she goes. Bye, puppy. Where are we going? We smelling stuff? We're looking at the vacuum cleaner. The big scary vacuum cleaner. Oh, there she goes. Okay. She's gonna go. I'm gonna guess she's gonna get water. Yep. Okay. Right. We'll just put that over in the Bandicam zone for later on when she comes back. Okay. I'm going to look real quickly for other questions that were in the general chat, and then I will pop over to the Q&A. Oh, I forgot with the breakup thing too. You can also do a breakup in public, but if you're going to have to go back home together afterwards, then that just is awkward. But if you're scared about them having like an outburst or doing something that makes you uncomfortable or like is threatening, breaking up in public is always an option. Even if it's not like in the middle of a restaurant, like doing it at a park or somewhere where like, because you're in public, that's going to like mitigate their propensity to act out, maybe, let's say. Yeah, you don't want to be burned out feeling like a carer for somebody. And if you're not attracted to her, you're not attracted to her, right? Age gap relationships are like that sometimes. Right. Yeah, Bandit's crime is stealing our hearts. I mean, that's what she always does for me. So every day I wake up. We got an update from Sean. Other Sean, different Sean. Not sure if you remember the cob asking for dungeons in the Florida area last week. Went to my first dungeon, being the Woodshed. Great recommendation, very safe place, and I'll be going back. Great, I'm glad that you enjoyed it there. I've never been. I've heard good things about it from other people, and I hope that you continue to enjoy your time there. And it's when you go to a first good dungeon, it makes a lot of difference for sure. Also, the other best advice I heard, if you were thinking maybe you should break up, you should break up. I mean, I don't like... I think that is like needs a little bit more investigation to it, just because, I don't know, some people are very, I think as an anxious-minded person that makes more sense, but there are people who are very avoidant, and they kind of, their brain defaults to breaking up like really quickly, and it's not even because they actually have a reason to break up, it's because they're nervous. And they're like, oh, too much commitment, we should break up, I'm scared. Like, there's no actual reason for it, everything's compatible, everything is going the way that people involved want it to go, and they just initiate a breakup, not because anything is in the relationship that, you know, not anything's happening that's like necessitating a breakup, it's just their brain's like, but what if we destroyed a relationship again? But what if we were alone again? But what if we didn't have to deal with commitment? But what if we weren't subject to somebody else's desires and freedom? Press the freedom button. And it's more of an avoidant thing than it is like an actual reason for breaking up. But I think if you're somebody who's really anxious and you tend to preserve relationships longer than you should because you're afraid of hurting somebody, and if you feel the urge that are like, oh, well, if I'm feeling like it's time for a breakup, then it's time to do it, that is probably a more serious sign. But it depends on your underlying brain juice, I think, more than anything. And remember, put your questions in the Q&A if you want to make sure they answer them. If you don't use the Q&A feature, I cannot promise that I will see it or get to it. But I did see a really good newbie question, and I want to make sure I get to that because it seems important. So I'm going to answer that one real quickly because it's probably going to be a short answer. And that is, I'm new to this, like super green. Is a dungeon a good place for me to start? And I'm going to say no, actually, to that. I think if you're brand new to the community, if you don't know anything at all, I would not start having your first event ever be a dungeon. This is why. Because dungeons can be overwhelming. You're not going to know anybody. You're not going to be able to know if the environment is safe or not, if it's a good party for you. You might get lucky, but you should leave that up to chance as little as possible, because a bad dungeon experience can be very bad and could put you off the entire community, and just being prepared ahead of time is a good idea. So what I recommend doing instead is going to something called a munch, which is a non-sexual platonic gathering of people who are members of the kink community in a public space like a cafe or a bar or a restaurant. It's usually held during the week after work hours, so that way people can just casually hang out before going to a dungeon and just like check up with people that are in their lives. And people will talk about kink, people will talk about things they have planned or scenes they did last week or how the dungeon was last Friday. Like, that will definitely happen. But people also talk about, like, regular life stuff and other hobbies. People bring board games to play. People bring card games to play. The kink community has a lot of overlap with nerd culture, so there's definitely people who are going to be talking about Star Trek and their magic deck builds and all sorts of stuff. So that, I think, is a better introduction because it is in public, it's during the daytime or sometimes early evening. There's no play. There's no nudity. Most munches, people are not supposed to be cruising. There are events that happen where people do like speed dating or mixer events where it's more intentionally focused on pairing people up or finding play partners, but a general munch is supposed to be a casual social gathering of like-minded people. It's not about cruising. It's not about finding hookups. And if people approach you that way at a munch, that is a big red flag. You should leave. And also because of the fact that munches are very casual, it's very easy to come and go. They're typically free. It is a good way to meet people and ask them about like, hey, like, where do people go for play around here? What's the local dungeon like? Because sometimes there's one local dungeon and it's ran by like a real asshole and he's not a good guy, but no one else can find a space to put a dungeon because of whatever reason. So it's like the only thing in town. But like on Tuesdays, this guy named Mark comes in and runs his own party in the same space. And actually that party's pretty good. Just don't go to the normal one on Friday night. Like, you never know what odd combinations of things could be going on in your local kink scene. So checking with people, meeting people, getting an idea what is going on locally and where the good places to go are from a munch is the best place to start, in my opinion. And also they're just fun. It's a good way to meet people. And different munches have different energies, so you can find munches that are general munches, ones for new people, ones for queer people, one's for trans people, one for neurodivergent people. If you're in a big city, there's going to be probably a lot of different flavors of just general munch out there that you can sample from. She is checking out the door again. All right. Okay, let's get to some more questions, and thank you for that one. It's always important to let new people know where a good spot to go is and where you should start. Because some people do start with dungeons. They just like dive right in immediately. And like I know people where they're like, I went to a dungeon and I met a guy and then we were in like an MS relationship immediately. And sometimes it works out. Most of the time it doesn't though. Most of the time it does not. All right, Q&A. We're going over the Q&A. And thank you so much for the super chats and the questions. I really appreciate that as well. And I will go over here. Okay. Are you wearing something interesting? I'm wearing a dress. I guess that's interesting. This is I'm getting my blood drawn dress because it's full length. So I don't have to worry about getting cold. But I also have my arm free. So when they do a blood draw on me, I don't have to roll up a sleeve. So I guess it has a story behind it. So I guess that does make it interesting in a way. But no, I just had a dress on today that I didn't change. Normally I don't wear like interesting clothes on camera, I guess, because I don't want the pressure of having to wear cute outfits every single time on my camera forever. Are you going to Folsom Street Fair this weekend? No, I am not going to Folsom Street Fair. I was maybe thinking about going this year. Actually, I wonder what the weather is going to be like this year, now that I'm not going. Let's see. San Francisco weather this weekend. You know what? Actually, good choice I didn't go because it's going to be in the mid-60s, which is pretty chilly for being naked outside. So I thought about going. I haven't been in a long time, but I'm going to be traveling a lot in October because I'm going to be teaching at Dark Odyssey, and I'm going to a concert in like the very first part of October. So I was already going to be gone a lot, and I already had been gone a lot this summer, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to like skip it. I'm just going to like be at home. And maybe I'll go next year if I have like less immediate plans right around that. Because I also there's so many, oh my God, everyone I know is born in fucking September. There were like 6 birthdays this month. So like, it was like so many birthday parties, so many camping trips, so many different various activities with people that it just got overwhelming. So I haven't gone. I would like to go. I'm very curious to see what it's going to be like this year. But no, I'm not going to be there, unfortunately. But I'd like to go in the future, and I have been before. But if you do go, I recommend checking out the SOJ booth because there are opportunities there to get some, getting demo topped by a demo top. Not to do demo topping, you have to sign up in advance with them to do demo topping. So I maybe play with that if you want to go there. That's a good time that I've never taken advantage of, but I know people who do that and it's very rewarding. And just go and enjoy the people. But maybe next year I'll go. Maybe next year. It's been a long time. I'd like to go. Wasn't in the cards this year. Too much travel, too much time away from the little doggo. Needed to be close to little dog. It's usually my priority with things. Oh, this is like, okay, big, interesting question. Sorry, I got distracted. Somebody was talking about Star Trek, but yes, exactly. People are nerds in the community. People have, even if you can't talk about kink, you might be able to talk about Brave New Worlds. Or what's the other one that's like not Star Trek, but the people who like Star Trek the Orville. Talk about spirited debate about that. So Marie asked about any tips on handling resentment, which is a very open-ended question. And it's like, in what context? So there's handling resentment in a DS relationship. There's handling resentment in a vanilla relationship. Monogamy, polyamory. Depends on what's causing the resentment. So I'm going to make an example and then give advice based on that may differ slightly from the actual situation that's behind this question and what the person wants to have answered. But making up a scenario for me to be able to build off of, I'm going to say that maybe you are in a DS relationship and you're a submissive and you are resentful because your partner is not holding up their end of your contract agreements. You have a very beautiful, fancy contract. You spent a long time on it. It's 14 pages long. You've got like all these rules and all the structure, and you spent so much time working it out and you committed to it. And at first you're really excited about it, and then it slowly petered off, and you're still keeping up with what you need to be doing. You're still using the titles and kneeling and doing whatever, but they are just not reinforcing things the way that they should. First step, number one, resentment comes out of expectations that we have for other people and them not meeting those expectations a lot of the time. It can also be from other things, but I'm going to assume that like it's kind of that scenario of like I feel resentful either because I'm being made to do something that I don't really want to be doing and it's eating away at me, or somebody isn't doing something that I expect to be done and then that's also eating away at me. So we can also talk about like what to do if it's I'm being expected to do more than what feels good for me and the person isn't like acknowledging that, or it's just eating away at the relationship and it's causing resentment. But if it's something where the person isn't living up to the expectations that you've agreed to and that you have for them, first step, number one to dealing with it is it's not going to get better unless you, guess what, talk about it. So you have to talk about it. You have to bring it up. And I know as an S-type, it's really difficult. So the way that we do this is if we're feeling resentful about something in as polite a way as you can, based on your protocol that you have established, or if you don't have any, still be nice as you would to any other human being. But you can just say, hey, so I wanted to check in about how our contract is going. I feel like I've been doing my part of holding up the relationship and I've been doing X, Y, and Z thing. And I thought that we had agreed to you doing this, that, and the other to like reinforce that or acknowledge it. And I'm worried because I'm noticing that I'm starting to feel resentful because you aren't holding up your end of what I thought we agreed to, and I'm wondering if maybe it's like it's overwhelming for you. Is it not rewarding anymore? Like, what can we do to make this work for both of us? And so I don't have to feel that resentment because I don't want to feel that way. And really make it about like that you're feeling something, and it's not even because like they're like in a non-accusatory way. It's not because they've done something wrong, but it's like you're noticing a feeling coming up, and because you like them and like their relationship, you're trying to troubleshoot around this like problematic feeling that's happening that you don't want to be experiencing. And then hopefully you could have an open dialogue about like why it's not working, and hopefully the person can tell you like why it's not working. And here's where we get into a potentially controversial opinion about DS relationships, although I hope it shouldn't be, but other people give folks more leeway than I do. I have very low tolerance for DS relationships are not meant for most people. Most people can't do them well. Most people don't know how to sustain them long term. It does not work with most people's brains outside of a for fun occasionally kind of deal. But if you want to preserve, that's a scenario that you're in, you can revisit things. And if the person cannot tell you why it's not working for them, or why they're not doing the things that they've agreed to, or they come up with a lot of excuses without any kind of plan to move forward, and they just want to be allowed to not hold up their end of the bargain, essentially, by like, oh, well, but like, work's been really hard, and I've been stressed, and I'm too tired, and I'm blah, 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 blah. Like, if they just string along a series of, here's why I'm not actually doing anything wrong, and they don't offer any kind of concrete, like, I totally get it. Yeah, I've been dropping the ball. I've just been really distracted because of this big work project and like trying to nail down this new contract. And my boss has been like really pressuring me to perform. And I definitely feel like I have not been as focused on a relationship as I should be and what I promised you that I would. So when, let's say maybe next week when that project is due, once I get that turned in, like, let's reevaluate, let's recommit, and then maybe let's do something like, you know, connected together that weekend. Like, if they can come back after that and show that they understand the problem and how they're going to change it, and then give you an opportunity to bond again that acknowledges the fact that they were dropping the ball, that's what you want to see, honestly. But then you have to check, right? Like, I think getting to a place where the person can acknowledge what they did and can change their behavior is one thing. That's like step 2 of like navigating resentment, is like things changing, they need to be changed. And then 3 is having some kind of bonding activity you can do together where you intentionally let go of the feelings of resentment. Because, okay, you've made a plan, you're going to believe them, you have to believe them because that's part of your relationship dynamic. You have to let go of the feelings of resentment and like not let it go. And you can just like quietly to yourself, like breathe it in and like tell yourself like, I can let go of this resentment. We're turning over a new page, and just like let that relief of being able to let go of that resentment just go through you. And then you monitor, you wait, you watch. Do they keep up with their end of the bargain? Do they change their behavior consistently? Do you have to keep reminding them? Do you have to keep on them? Or can they be a little bit more of a self-starter? Do they actually do what they need to do, and does it actually end up sticking? And you might go through the cycle a couple times where, especially if you're both neurodivergent or if you're really busy, you might just have to go through a couple iterations of talking about stuff to nail down what is actually sustainable for both of you. And that's more or less what needs to happen, just those steps. And then, you know, if they're not keeping up the end of the bargain again multiple times and it's still not really changing, then maybe it's time to reevaluate what level of relationship you're at and how you're going about things. Because, yeah, it's not gonna be sustainable if you're just continually like going back to that place of like looking again and again and again and again. And not because you're like excited about new things, but because current things aren't working and it's only ever not working. The other flip side of potentially having resentment, and let me know if I'm missing any other like kind of key ways that resentment can come up, but these are the 2 main ways that I can think of based on my experience, is not when your partner is meeting... There's 2 options, right? There's partner is not meeting expectations that I have for them. 2, I am being pushed to do more, and it's grating away at me, and it's not being recognized, and it's causing me to feel resentful that I feel like I'm obligated to do something that like isn't working for me and isn't rewarding, and I just don't want to do it anymore. And if that's the place you're at, then you need to talk to your partner about the fact that that's happening. Again, still right. Like, you need to say, hey, so I know that we have this agreement, and I love the intention behind our relationship, and I love our contract, and I want to keep that going. But this thing is not working for me, and it's putting me in a negative headspace that I don't want to be in. Can we like work around this? Can we reduce this? And there's actually, it's a book I referenced, I think, last week as well. Okay, here we go. So there is this book again. It's called Hot and Unbothered, and there's a really good section in this. Oh my God, did I just magically flip open to the exact page? Yeah, okay, here we go. I think this is the exact thing that I wanted to read. Okay. And this is another example of resentment. Imagine you just had a stellar first date with a new person. They're charming, funny, polite, to your waiter, and have the most captivating eyes you ever did see. And the dinner conversation flowed like sweet, sweet honey. They text you a couple of days later inviting you to a baseball game. They love baseball. Not only do they find baseball games to be fun and relaxing in that rowdy, energetic kind of way, but it also makes them nostalgic for their childhood when their dad used to coach their Little League games. How adorable. Though baseball has never really been your thing, you, of course, say yes because going to this game certainly won't be torture, and it sounds like a cute date idea. During the game, your date is really in their element. The peanuts are popping, the chants are contagious, and by the end of the 6th inning, you find yourself in Swoon City. It's a regular old falling in love movie montage over here. Dang, you think, this person could stick around for a while. Turns out, they do. 6 years later, you've got a kid, a house, and season tickets to these fucking baseball games. The bleachers are uncomfortable, the concession stands give you heartburn, and all the yelling gives you a headache. But baseball games have become your relationship's thing. Beyond being a seasonal tradition, it's played a leading role in your How We Met story, has created an important place for your partner to connect their past and their present life to you. It's not just baseball, it's emotional, relational, and has become a strong tether between the two of you, especially your partner. Personally, your patience for baseball ran out a long time ago. Though early in your relationship, you happily bent the rules of your own interest in favor of nurturing all the ways you could connect to this new person. Here in your established relationship at the present, you'd rather spend time and energy on these baseball games on your own interests and other relationships with friends, family, and your child. In fact, you're starting to become downright resentful of all this time and money that you're spending on your partner's baseball fanaticism rather than your own life. When was the last time they spent the equivalent of 6 years of baseball season tickets on you and your interests? You want to bring up the idea of significantly cutting back on your baseball attendance, or really, in an ideal world, you'd stop going altogether, but you're worried about what that might mean to your partner and how they might feel about it, and what this shift could do to your relationship. The truth is that you've never liked baseball, and that at the start of your relationship with this person, you downright exaggerated your interest in it because it felt good to connect and you wanted them to like you. To admit this now might cause strife, a feeling of betrayal, or at the very least, rock your otherwise smooth-ish sailing boat. The unknown repercussions and fear of disconnect from your partner encourage you to stay quiet, but you keep going to baseball games in the name of maintaining the status quo of your relational connection, all the while obscuring your partner's ability to see you thrive in other areas of your life that you've been neglecting, all in favor of their, not so much your, love of the game. And there's this is sort of the beginning of this whole section of dealing with resentment and how you end up coming up with the status quo in your relationship, and that eventually those things can lead to resentment, and then you have to break through that part where you get to the symbiosis stage. This is the beginning phase, and then you differentiate, and then you're able to explore, and then you're able to reach this part called rapprochement. I actually have a video where I've talked about this exact thing. It's called I think the 4 stages to building a sustainable DS relationship. But honestly, I think this book is worth reading just for this section of it alone. But yes, if you would like to have more advice about dealing with resentment, essentially it comes down to being willing to have those hard conversations, whether you ask out working things together, or you understand that your relationship can survive with you being more independent and not having to share every interest and not having to do every last dang thing together. All right, my dog is sleeping in a dark corner, and I'm pretty sure y'all are not going to be able to see her, but she is technically there. She's very sleepy. Oh, I lost the chat. Okay, 1 second. Let me refresh here. Or apparently I'm talking about TNG for some reason. I come back and we're talking about Tasha Yar. I don't know what else I would expect. Oh, I thought the story was going to talk about how an established partner was resentful because you wouldn't go to baseball games with them, but you'll go with a new partner. I mean, that is also, that's an all-time classic for poly literature. Oh my God. If this book is not about polyamory, though it does recognize open and non-monogamous relationships, but there are certainly a lot of people that are but why do you do this thing with the other person and not with me? And it's like, well, because they like the other thing and you don't. Like, why do I go rock climbing with that person? Because you said you don't like rock climbing. That's why. Do you want to do something that you hate to spend time with me? Probably not. I have not watched the whole of TOS. I have not. I've seen little bits and pieces of it, like maybe 2 seasons worth total, but not the whole thing. Never really. I like Star Trek. Maybe Star Trek's my resentment, as I've had a lot of partners that are like really into Star Trek, like really into it, and so I end up watching it. I like DS9, but would I ever sit and like, I don't have like a deep emotional connection to it. Like, it's not nostalgic for me. It's not. There's nothing like, there's no special emotional connection I have to Star Trek. Whereas a lot of other people, they grew up watching it and like it was like their thing, and like I'm just like, I just don't ever think about anything that way, especially not a TV show. This is one of the things that draws me to poly, knowing I don't have to provide all my partner's emotional needs. Oh, yeah. Like, that is, it's both a double-edged sword, and it's a good thing. Because it's like, oh, well, like, actually, I don't have to do everything with you. I can have, like, a partner I go camping with. I can have a partner I go rock climbing with. I can have a partner that I do this and the other with. Not that you need a discrete partner for every single one of your hobbies, but, like, you know, there's going to be some people who share your interests and some don't. And some people you have a really good emotional connection with, and you have overlap in certain areas. And, like, there's, like, 1 or 2 things that are still important to you that they just, like, do not care about. Like, I don't know, like if I had a partner like that was really into a sport like baseball, like I don't give a shit, like baseball, hockey, like spend money on that? Oh, no. That definitely not for me at all. But some people really like that, and they want to have somebody that they can go with. So for them, it might make sense to find a partner who shares that hobby that they can do things with. And I'm just not going to be that person, and it's fine. It doesn't mean they don't like me or don't care about me. It just means that I'm not the baseball girlfriend. And I'm kind of relieved to not be the baseball girlfriend, not going to lie. Poly seemed like fun, but I could never keep up with all the texting. Oh, I don't know where I thought that sentence was going. Like, could never keep up with blah, blah, blah. But yeah, no, the texting is hard. I mean, I don't know. It depends. I have, like, in my time being poly, I've dated people that are, like, really heavy texters that, like, because of their job, they just, like, can text all day. And even if we're not really sending, like, you know, big messages back and forth, there's kind of always little cheaps back and forth of like, here's a photo, here's my lunch, here's what I'm doing today for work, blah, blah, blah. And like, that's really nice. But I also have other partners who have really busy lives, and like, fucking, I don't hear from them for like 2 days sometimes, 2-3 days. And I don't like, it's different partnerships. I have some people where like, if they don't text me after like 12 hours, I'm like, did you die? Like, you normally always text me something. Are we okay? And then there's other people, if I don't hear from them for like 5 days, I'm like, they're probably just busy. It's fine. It's not that they're not thinking about me. It's not that they don't want to talk to me. It's just that they've like lost their phone. They don't know what's happening. They're busy. They're doing something else. And they'll get to you when they get to me, and it's fine. But the difference is that all of those, there's security with the type of connection happening. There's security and comfort in the way that the communication is happening. And if there was conflict about how much texting was happening, or calling, or FaceTime, or whatever method you're using to communicate or see a person, there's a disconnect where one party or even both parties are like unhappy with how it's going, like that's going to cause problems. It's going to cause issues. We're returning to the bed. We have gone back to the bed, as was foretold. I knew it. I knew it would happen someday. And we're going to get all snuggled in. Good job. Yep. Better chew on the bed. She's probably going to lick it a little bit, because she also does that because she's weird. Oh, I don't know anything about iPhones. I'm sorry I had to be dealing with tech support, though. That sucks. Everyone's having phone issues. It's that time of the year for everyone's phones to no longer work, I guess. All right, let's see. More questions. Going back to the Q&A again. If you want to make sure I answer your question, use the Q&A feature, and then I will get to it as soon as I can. All right, so we have a question. Skill issue. The only question from you that I see is the one that says, can you see my questions? So if you want to put, or have meant to put, things into the questions part of the live stream, I recommend doing that now, because I cannot see anything else that you've asked, at least in the Q&A feature. FYI. Oh, okay, here we go. This is from Jay. So I'm living in a place where there aren't any venues around, but a few local munches in public places. I'm kind of nervous about... going since... Oh, here was it too. Okay, messed up. Okay. Going solo, and I was wondering if you have any advice about what to expect or how to go to those kinds of events and how they typically go. So you definitely will not be alone, especially at a munch going solo. A lot of people go solo. It's really normal, especially for new people, because you don't really know anybody yet. And it would be unusual if you came into a munch with like a kink friend who you could just already go with, unless you were in a relationship and you were going with a partner. That's like a little bit of a different thing. So going solo, totally normal. But for what to expect at a munch, they're all run a little bit differently, but the general theme of them is you maybe, let's say you start at like 6 p.m. So you're going to have organizers there. They're probably wearing something identifying them as organizers, like a lanyard or like some specific color of clothing maybe. And they will be there from the very start. Usually it's the least busy right at the start of the event time. So like if there's 6, a good time to go as a new person is 6 o'clock, because you're going to have the easiest time breaking into conversations, and you're going to be able to introduce yourself directly to any organizers who are there to say, hey, I'm so-and-so, this is my first time, I'm new, can you introduce me to people? And you can ask them to help integrate you into the space. And if they're a good organizer, like that's like their bread and butter, they do it all the time, it's going to be no problem. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is like typically it's going to get busier over the course of the night. If you're in a small town, it's hard to say how big it might end up being. I've been to munches that are like 10 people. I've been to munches that are like 50 plus people. So it could be anywhere in that ballpark. But usually it's more than 5, less than 100. If you have like 100 people in a room, that's like a lot. I've been to like munches before where we just like take over the whole venue, especially after a big event weekend like Folsom or Dargassy or something. It's going to be like a lot of people. But if it's like general random munch night, it's probably going to be, I'd say average ballpark is like 15 to 30 people. And that's like coming and going there the whole night. So there might be people who show up for like 2 hours. There might be people who show up in like the last hour and like that's it. And that's going to be like part of that number. But usually it's going to be people kind of like casually milling around, sitting in different booths and hanging out as a group, and kind of like, you know, people get into kind of their own groups to socialize in. That might be like just 2 people, might be like 6 people or 8 people. Some munches, especially that are more newbie focused, kind of keep everyone in one really big group. And then there's like guided questions and guided like conversational icebreakers. But for a typical munch that's ran by people that are there every single week and they're not catered to just new people, it's probably going to be mostly people just like milling around people they already know, and like socializing like kind of any casual party setting where, you know, maybe depending on the venue, maybe people could be drinking, but people get like appetizers and stuff and they share them, and, you know, they sit and they have fries and people have a meal. But usually people order drinks. The expectation for munches is typically if you're at a food venue, you order something to thank the venue for making us be able to use their venue for a meetup that many of the places are not comfortable with. And so tipping and ordering some kind of thing, whether it's a beverage or a snack or an appetizer, is a good way to go. And usually the best way to break in is early on, especially if you can wear something or dress up in some fashion where you have a signifier of an interest that you have, whether it's a lanyard or pins or something on a backpack or a t-shirt, a graphic t-shirt. That's a good way to get people to start a conversation with you. If you have an MTG shirt on, or you have a Star Trek shirt on, or you have a bunch of like fandom pins on your bag or on a lanyard, like that'll give people an opportunity to be like, oh, hey, I like that too. Do you like blah, blah, blah? Did you watch blah, blah, blah? Have you seen blah, blah, blah yet? Have you heard that this is coming out? Like giving people an opportunity to relate to you on a non-kink level can make integrating into that space easier. Otherwise, a lot of people are going to just be like, hey, like, you seem new here. I'm so-and-so. Like, is this your first time at a kink event? A lot of people are probably going to ask you, is this your first time at an event? Do you have any experience? Blah, blah, blah. Like, kind of those basic intro, like, kink questions. But it should be pretty casual. It should not be super personal and invasive. People kind of just, like, float around. And then after a couple hours, people catch up. They have their drinks, they have their snacks, and they kind of go their own way. They come in and out easily. Some people are like, yeah, I gotta get up early to go to work, so I gotta head out. Or, people are like, oh, actually, my shift starts in 2 hours, so I gotta go. Like, it's very, very low key most of the time. That's basically what you need to know about munches. They're pretty easy. Does one need to go on FetLife to find munches? Most of the time. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab my water bottle because I desperately feel like I need to have water, and I left it in the fridge by accident. Okay, so look upon the cute dog, and I will go get my water bottle. 1 second. Okay. Oh, my throat was so dry. Oh my God. Oh, this feels so much better. Okay, great. So in terms of where you find munches and like, do you need to go on FetLife? There are older websites that you can go to, like the mall directory, which is like munches and adult local listings or something. I don't know. Maybe I should just actually find the link to it in my bookmark somewhere. Let's see, munches and adult. If the name didn't give it away, it's like an archive of like, oh, adult local links, aka findamunch.com. So I don't know how good this is. I don't really use this because I have a FetLife account, so I don't like need to use it. Oh, here, I need to go back to just like the regular chat to be able to put a link to this in here. Yeah, definitely. And I even have my purple water bottle. I currently have my green cap on it because I'm washing the other one, but good stuff. Okay, so back to, yeah, FetLife is very explicit nowadays. I mean, it depends. Like, I don't really see like super, I don't know, it's really explicit. Like, I don't see explicit content that often on FetLife that I don't want to be seeing. And then if I have a friend that likes a lot of posts or post photos that I don't want to see, I mute them. And I say, hey, it's nice to be your friend, but I don't want to see 20 pictures of your genitals constantly. So we're just going to mute that. And I never go on KNP. I never search for anything, at least not that would show up with the kind of results I wouldn't want to look at for 5 seconds at a time. So I don't have that problem, but I don't know what the general climate of FetLife is currently like as far as like, I'm not engaging in groups. I'm not engaging with like kinky and popular. So I'm sure there's lots of people who have been pushed to FetLife that maybe wouldn't otherwise be on the website, but that kind of has always happened. But yeah, you can use that, the Munch and Adult Local Links directory, if you don't want to have a FetLife account or if you don't have one. It could also be better for other parts of the world that like maybe don't have as big of a FetLife presence. However, the best places to find munches are going to be FetLife and similar websites. So there are places like Bloom/Plura, which is an app that's more non-monogamy focused, but will have munches, and like poly people also call their meetups munches, and it's like, it's not a munch if it's not, okay. I think munches are specifically a kink thing, and it bothers me when polyamorous people call their meetups munches. Like, get your own fucking term. Don't take that. It means something specific. I don't want a monogamous kinky person to go to a polyamorous munch with a bunch of vanilla people, because there's no overlap there. There's nothing in common, which is my concern with them using it. But there's Bloom/Plura, and depending where you live, could be options on there. And then there's also for kink specific stuff, there is Forbidden Tickets. I know some organizations put their munches on there as well, though that's also very location specific, and it's mostly West Coast, but there's smatterings of other stuff on there as well that could pop up. But the most popular website by far that is the most up to date is going to be FetLife, and that is where most of the munches are at. However, you don't have to have a super detailed FetLife account. You don't have to have friends. You can literally make a blank account, not even add a profile photo, have no friends, put your location as Antarctica, and just browse and just look for events and go, okay, well, like I didn't have my location set, but I'm going to go to Milwaukee and I'm going to see where the munches are in Milwaukee. You don't have to engage with anybody. Don't have to talk to anybody. Now, some munches, if you RSVP to the event on FetLife, they're going to send you a message and like have a little check-in. And especially if you're new and you have a blank account, they're going to be like, hey, you've RSVP'd before. Here's information about how to get to the place, or like what time things starts, or FAQ type things that maybe they want to have in there as well. And they might raise an eyebrow if you have a totally blank account, and they might just be like, hey, you know, we don't send information, because some places the information will like, they'll just have the address on the event listing on FetLife, but a lot of places these days, they have a hidden address and they won't send you it until you have a non-blank profile with, you have to be RSVP typically going, not maybe, to be able to see the address, and then they'll send you it. So you might have to have a little bit of something on your profile for some munches, but a lot of them are just like, here's the address, it's at this pub, it's Fridays at 6 p.m., there you go. And then you just don't even have to talk to anybody. But I think it's also a good place, and this is like FetLife. There's an advantage to it, which is a lot of the other websites that have munches on them, it's just information and like tickets. So you're not getting an easy way to directly communicate with the event organizers. Whereas on FetLife, the event organizer is like right there. You can send them a message on the same website, no emails involved, nothing like that. And if you have questions about the dress code, what to expect, the location, parking, anything, you can just reach out to them very quickly, very easily. So that's, you know, that's my perspective on it, at least. So I know some people don't like FetLife. I totally get why. I'm planning to kind of dive into some of the things that have been going on FetLife recently that have given people an even worse taste in their mouth than they had before. But compared to pretty much every other website out there, like, it's kind of the only one that's kink focused that's going to give you the most options for that kind of thing. Sadly, there are no munches or events near me on FetLife anyway. Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to have them. I mean, online events. There's lots, actually, I didn't even mention that yet. There's also a lot of online events. So if you are in an area where there's not a lot of munches, where it's hard to meet people, you can also just go online. And there's online munches, and those are good, especially if you have like a very specific niche interest. Like if you're into ABDL, if you're into shibari, if you're into tickle torture, hypnosis, a lot of those more niche kinks, if there's not a big enough group of people like that in an area to sustain an event, they will have an online version that's open to anybody from around the world that is catered to that interest. So if you want to meet people that are into your thing, if you know what your thing is or not, that's a good option too. There's also like TNG groups and like maybe more age specific stuff that is online only as well. So you don't have to by any means just go to events that are in person. Online is also an option too. Thank you, Evie, for giving the Introvert Newbie's Guide to How to Find a Munch. I mean, yeah, that's the title of the video, more or less, is like the Introvert's Guide to Finding a Munch. I actually have an old video on like what to expect going to munches and like how to navigate it. And as an introvert person, like, I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with munches. There's a lot of reasons why I like them and a lot of reasons why I don't. And if it's a good group of people and I know them already, like it can be a fun time to socialize just like out in public over like some fries or like a milkshake or something. But if, like, it sounds very sock hoppy, it sounds very like 1950s. Like, I was down at the sock hop with all my friends sharing a banana split. Be cute. It'd be a cute place for a munch. Like one of those like 1950s style diners. That'd be adorable. But anyways, what was I thinking of? Can you tell I'm hungry? Anyways, well, where's my brain going? I totally lost my train of thought. Online munches. Oh, Introvert Newbie's Guide. The part I don't like about munches is I also don't like socializing with strangers in enclosed environments. So I have to, if I'm going solo especially, I really have to overcome a lot of like, I don't want to do this, it's not going to be fun. Like, I don't get anything out of just like talking to strangers typically. Like, it's not rewarding, I don't have fun. Like, it's a grin and bear it scenario until I can get to the point of having like real conversations. Like, I want to talk about like, I don't know, like, I want to talk about like the last time you cried, or like how your relationship is going. I don't know. I just don't get it. Small talk's not my thing. I don't like it. I don't get it. Not my vibe. So I like opportunities where I can go a little bit deeper, and I can't place where I know people. In order to do that, I have to go to Munches and do other little social thingies, and even if I hate them, it's just necessary evil, right? You know, I'm not the kind of dog where I like to be at the dog park. All right, I'm a sit on a person's lap kind of dog. But I do need to be socialized a little bit, so you still gotta go to the dog park occasionally, even if it's not your thing, is my philosophy. Feel very fortunate to be into rope around LA because there is a great community and touring practitioners. Oh yeah, LA, Bay Area too, for sure. So many options for venues and Munches. Not all of them good. There's bad eggs in there, like everywhere, but you're certainly spoiled for choice, if nothing else. Obviously, if you list yourself in Antarctica, unless you are actually in Antarctica, using the events near me link won't be accurate. Oh, yeah, that's true. But you can also just search anywhere for events. You just have to go to a different spot on the website to search for events in any location. Because obviously, like, you're not geographically restricted to only looking at events near you based on Fellow's opinion about what near you means. Like, I can also search, like, if I am in Oregon, I can still search for events in Seattle or in the Bay Area or Idaho. Like, you know, why would I go to Idaho? There is actually a community in Boise. There's a community in Boise. I don't know a lot about it, but I think there's actually a nice rope venue there. So, you know, so Idaho surprises me sometimes. I'm like, I guess there must be kinky people in Idaho somewhere in there. And then after Montana, it's just like there's nobody, I'm pretty sure. The structured speed fronting event was very helpful for that because there was a pre-selected attendance. Oh, that's true. Have I been... I've never been to an in-person speed friending event. Actually, now that I think about it, I've done online ones a couple of times, but every single time I've almost done one in person, it hasn't worked out. I've had, like, the first time I went to one, a partner freaked out and was like, you can't go without me. They felt really left out. They just, like, did not handle the idea of me going on my own to one of those at all. It was not a fun time. And then, what was the other events? I think they would have been like Dark Odyssey. And those ones, I went to the sign-up sheets and they were like super full. And I was like, my dance card's already full anyways. Like, I'm not going to bother. Just didn't even try. Didn't even make the attempt. And then I did an online one, like, I think like twice before. And that worked out actually okay. I didn't actually find any play on it, either one of those. But I don't know. I find, honestly, if I'm looking for play somewhere, ISO threads are like the vibe. That has always worked for me. Those work really well. And like, I have had long-term play partnerships come out of meeting people in ISOs and playing with them at dungeons and at bigger events like conventions as well. So lots of ways to meet people, but a structured event, I actually didn't even get into that with Munches. Especially if you're nervous and introverted, if you can find a Munch, if you have options, if you can pick a Munch that has a structured event around it, like mini golfing or painting or figure drawing or video games or board games or pinball or like an arcade or anything, right? Anything like that. The hiking Munches, there's outdoorsy ones too for if you like hiking or walking around a park or something. Those are options as well. But finding some kind of activity can make it a lot easier. There appear to be several in my city, if I understand Fredlife correctly. You can set what radius around your city will pop up for events, but if you've set it to like 50 kilometers or like 100 kilometers, you're going to find stuff that's like right near you. I wouldn't even worry about it. There is a dungeon near me, but I'm not interested in going regularly for quite a few reasons. Yeah, totally valid. What is a speed friending event? I've only heard of it before today. So if you know what speed dating is, you basically know what speed friending is. So it's a sort of matchmaking thing where you have people do like quick little questions with each other that are typically guided by some head person at the event, and you match up with people, you talk very briefly, and then you swap, and then if you hit it off with somebody, you like exchange information. And sometimes it's dating focused, sometimes it's play focused, sometimes it's just friends. And I've only ever been to play focused ones. I haven't ever done just like straight romantic speed dating, and I haven't ever done anything that's just for friends. But it seems to work for some people. It's good, especially if you're somebody who's good at talking. If you do well talking in person and making people feel comfortable in person, and that like some people are just like not good at texting. Some people are like, if you maybe they seem like standoffish, like if you maybe they have like resting bitch face or something, right? Where like if you see them from far away too much, you just like think they're unapproachable. But if you start talking to them, they're really good. It just makes it easier for a lot of folks. What's an ISO thread? So many follow-up questions. Thank you. I have to remember that like I'm using abbreviations that are just like in my head, but then not everyone knows what they are. So an ISO thread stands for in search of. This is like an oldie internet term for you young folk that are 20 and don't know anything besides TikTok. And it is a thread, or sometimes a section of a Discord server, where people post what they're looking for an upcoming event, or just for an event. Let's just say, I think there's probably people who do ISOs for like broader things, like just like relationships in general. But my experience with ISOs has been, there's a big event coming up, big like maybe theme party, maybe a big convention, and somebody on FetLife will start a group thread where maybe it's like the Dark Odyssey group, for example. And they'll post an ISO where people can post, hey, like they'll put together a thread for ISOs where people can then respond to that and say, I'm a bottom looking for a top. I am primarily a masochist. I enjoy stingy sensation. My favorite toy is whips, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be going with my partner. We're polyamorous. I have time on Saturday night to do potentially 2 scenes, and my wish list of scenes would be getting to do something like, you know, a whipping scene, a co-topping spanking scene with 2 people, somebody co-topping me with my partner. You know, they put like whatever things they're into. And then if you think that we're compatible, like respond or send me a DM. And then same thing in reverse with a top. And then you go through that, you look for people you're curious about, and then you start up conversations, and then people go from there. Very similar with Discord, other than if somebody's going on Discord, they can typically put in photos. And instead of using the FetLife DM system, you have to like message people on Discord. So same difference, but the idea is it's like a way of like asynchronous matchmaking with people and then starting conversations based off of a shared interest. What's everyone's go-to greeting when approaching / say infiltrating? Infiltrating a new group of people at a munch. Don't ask me because I'm really bad at it. I am curious what other people do though, because my technique is I kind of stand around with something, like if I have a drink or something or like whatever, and I stand around near a conversation. And then I wait until somebody says something that I have an opinion about or that I know how to talk about. And then I like insert myself, and like, I don't even start off with an introduction. I will just like contribute, like, you know, if somebody's talking about like spanking or whatever, I'll like share an anecdote, or I'll like continue a thought that somebody has or whatever. And then after that, when it gets to a breaking point in the conversation, then I'll be like, oh, and like, by the way, my name's Evie and I'm new here, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't start off with the introduction of like, here's who I am. I get into a conversation first and then back up and do that. And maybe that's not the best way of doing it, but it's the way that I found that works for me that's like the least painful. So that's where I go to. Okay, 20-minute warning, you all, FYI. We are in the final 20 minutes of the stream. So if you have not, for some reason, put in a question yet, please use our Q&A. It is highlighted in white at the very top of the chat. You can pop your question in there and I will see it right away. We'll get to it right away. Otherwise, I cannot promise that I will see it. If you have been putting things in just the general top chat, I am probably not going to see it. So, FYI, I'm going to toggle back over to the Q&A now, and we're going to get into more of those questions. All right, so I'm going back to the Q&A. And then I answered the one from Jay, and we are now getting to one from 1 star out of 5. How has the communal aspect of the scene felt where you're at? West Coast, correct. I found the East Coast feels fractured, and I'm wondering if it's just like that everywhere. That's interesting. I guess like along the whole West Coast, is it fractured? Or do you mean like different groups don't like get along with each other? I think it depends on where you're at. So my experience in Seattle was not that it was fractured, because there wasn't like, there was one big main dungeon like in Seattle proper, and then there were like other little things kind of like not even in the outskirts of Seattle, but like the next big town over, right? So like you could go to somewhere in like Bremerton, you could go to somewhere in like Tukwila. Like there were other dungeon options, but the big main one was in downtown Seattle. And so everything coalesced around that, and it was like the main part of the Seattle scene. And then there were bunches, but like there weren't like an overwhelming number to choose from, and that never really felt fractured to me. There were probably people off doing like their own side thing in other places, but I felt like there weren't like, you know, there weren't like rival groups that didn't like each other, and it's like, oh well, they run the other Tuesday munch and we don't like them. Like that wasn't really a thing that happened in Seattle. Portland is a little bit different. There are more options for venues, and there's a lot of overlap with swingers, and some of them there's more overlap with like sex positive and like polyamory circles, and like it all kind of depends a little bit. And there's a lot more fracturedness to Portland because it's more spread out, and a lot of people actually that are in Portland travel to go to other parts of Oregon to go to events there because they just like don't like the people in Portland or like the events in Portland or the scene in general. So that's pretty fractured. But then my experience in the Bay Area has been that there's a lot of events, and there's like 5 or 6 different dungeons, and there's like all kinds of different like munches and educational things, and you know, pick your poison of stuff you want to do out there. And that doesn't feel fractured so much as like spread out. Like, I know plenty of people there that go to lots of different events there, and it doesn't seem like there's any one hard and fast rule about, like, who goes where, who's part of, like, what group. Like, it all just kind of overlaps a little bit. So, that might just be your experience on the East Coast, but, like, everywhere is different. It depends on just the people in that space or the history that probably is there that started from, like, way beyond when you were there. That's like, oh, well, like 10 years ago, this munch was started by somebody who didn't like another person at like a different munch, and then because of that, blah, blah, blah. Like, there could be all kinds of stuff going on that you don't have any idea about going into it. But it being fractured, I don't think is a specific thing. Now, if by fractured, do you mean that there's not overlap between different scenes? That is definitely the case. So, like, the scene in the Bay Area is separate from the scene in Los Angeles. And the scene in Portland is separate from the scene in Seattle. Now, there are hints of overlap. There are people who like have long distance partners who travel from like Seattle to go to Portland. There are people who live like out but are still in like Northern California, and they like, if they're going to go to an event, they go into the Bay to go to somewhere. Like, there are satellite things sometimes around stuff, but there's not like, you know, direct communication lines or group overlap between like the scene in Los Angeles and the scene in the Bay Area, or the scene in Seattle or the scene in Portland. So those it's not cohesive, but like for big events, like there's lots of people who are in the scene in Seattle and Portland who go to Dark Odyssey events in California. There are lots of people who are in the Bay Area scene that come up for Kink Fest in the springtime. So there is some level of cross-pollination, but it's like 10% overlap, I'd say, probably. Like, it's not everyone by any means. It's there, but it's in, I don't know. Does that describe it accurately? Does that make sense? It feels more, I don't know, syndicalist, I guess. I don't know. That's maybe not the right word for it, but that's what came to mind. Great question, Play. Are there still people taking COVID precautions? I'm currently in isolation because I got exposed to a friend who didn't tell me that they weren't feeling well and they tested positive for COVID. Oh, I'm so sorry, Plate. So I hope you don't actually have it. I hope isolation works out for you. But yes, there are places that still take COVID precautions. One of the reasons why I really like the Dark Odyssey events is they don't require masking, but they still do daily rapid testing. And that's like, I think, as good as I can expect from an event at this point, sadly, at least of that scale. So that feels good to me. There are also other, and for people who don't know, like I mask at events, like unless it's outside, like at Thornwood, I didn't really mask, but I also use like a nasal spray constantly. So like I wasn't totally unprotected. I'm raw dog in the air. Oh my God, imagine. So I still had some protection going to Thornwood, even if I was like outside the whole time. But I would say for indoor events, Dark Odyssey is a good example of what it can look like. But there are people who run smaller events. Like there's one, what's it called? It's like Crave or something in Colorado. And that's a smaller, like queer kink convention that does have a lot of COVID mitigation at it. So that's when I don't know if they have air filtration in their play space or not, and if they have masking requirements, they might have changed, but they were one of the only conventions I came across where they had any requirements about testing, masking, and air filtration in their play spaces. So that's one example. I know in the Bay Area, there are some venues that require masking for all of their events. There's some things in Portland, too, that require masking, or at least did. And again, I don't know. I don't go to like public parties like that regularly, so my information may be out of date. But at least historically, there have been places that require day of rapid testing and then masking in the event space itself. And usually there's pockets of parties like that, like maybe like once a month or something. So the point is that there are people who run munches that are outside that are COVID conscious. So if you are more COVID averse, or if you just don't want to get sick, or maybe you recently had COVID or whatever, you can go to events like that where maybe it's like a outdoor meetup and people like are just outside and like it's COVID conscious, or they have rules about masking at the space. So yes, it's definitely not most places, but it seems to be more than what typically happens for other hobby spaces and COVID. So it's not zero, is what I would say. But I only have experience on the West Coast. I have no idea what that would be like on the East Coast at all. I don't know what that would be like in like the Midwest. So that's my experience. I think the West Coast seems to be a little bit more COVID conscious on average than like the rest of the country still. But your mileage may vary on that one. But it is possible. It is possible. And obviously, you can always wear a mask. Like I am sometimes the only person wearing a mask, and I just do it, and it's fine, and I don't care. And it's like, hey, you know what? Judge me if you want. I don't care. Whatever. Yeah, I beat you to the early warning. All right. Okay. So, okay, I'm back in the Q&A again, FYI, so if you have not put your question there yet, I am being so serious, do it now, because I have like 10 minutes left, and I'm definitely not going to get to the end of it. And also, my dog is being cute, and, I mean, look at her. Oh, my God. She knows it's the end of the stream. She knows what's up. She's like, I heard that 15-minute warning. I know what's going on here. All right, I'm going to get some water, because once again, I need to take care of that. Good question, Sunny. Oh, this looks like it might be a two-parter, and I don't see the second part. It cut you off. Let me see if I can go back and find this person's. I think you literally just posted. So, in Colorado, there's definitely lots of places that requiring COVID precautions, and lots of events will heavily encourage masks. It's also worth talking to organizers about encouraging COVID care. That's a great point. You love to see it. You love to see it. Okay, again, put your questions in the Q&A, otherwise I will not be able to get to it probably, FYI. But I am going to try to go back and find this part 2. Oh, did you just like eat the part 2 because it was in a Q&A and it only took the second or the first part? Okay, well, I'm going to try to do my best based off of what I have already. Let's do that. Okay, do you have tips on making play more structured? I usually do pretty casual play where my partner and I have a good understanding of our likes and boundaries and just let it happen naturally. Oh, okay. So I'm going to like, you maybe want to go into things that are more like pre-negotiated up front, that have more of a structure to them. I feel like the way that I do a lot of play where it is very open-ended, and like my partner just kind of knows like what my boundaries are and they stay within them and kind of whatever happens. But I do like pre-planning. I do like structure to my scenes, especially for pickup play or new partners or things that are just more complicated in general. So when I like to build out structure for scenes, typically what I'm looking at is clarity around like, what is the intention with the scene that we're doing? What emotions do we want to be experiencing? And what tools are we going to use to make that happen? Especially if there's going to be role play in it. And that can actually help you build structure to the scene. Is like adding in role play elements or adding in some kind of like time feature, or maybe you have like a timer where like, okay, for like the first like 30 minutes, it's going to be really light. And then when that timer is up, like we're going to play really hard, or I'm going to try to get you to red or something like that. Where you have kind of more indicators of where the scene's going to be going before you actually start the scene itself. But as far as other elements of structure, it's mostly about like designing around the kind of emotional experience that we want to play with, and or talking about if we want to achieve specific things from the scene. So maybe I want to do a scene where we do like, I don't know, like a decorative cutting or something that kind of inherently like requires a lot of structure. So we're going to talk about like what the reason behind it is, where it's going to be on the body, what the design is going to be, how do we want to play with it? Is it going to be just about the process of the cutting itself? Is it going to be about the blood? Is it going to be about the pain and the suffering? Do we want to emphasize that? Do we want to try to make it as comfortable as possible? So on and so forth. And then eventually you've talked about everything enough and you've really hammered down what you're actually going to be doing. And then you have a pretty clear structure of how the scene is going to go. But really it mostly just boils down to like talking more about what you each want to do and what you are looking to get out of the scene. And that, I think, just on its own will create some more guardrails beyond just like improving the whole time. But the fact actually that you can improv and you have a good understanding of your likes and boundaries already, like, well, it's easier to go from that to more structure than to start really structured and then to try and ad lib. Like, that's definitely a skill. So, but let me know if you have anything that's in the follow-up that I missed out on, because it doesn't seem like I have a record of that for some reason. But if I was totally off base, let me know and we can like revisit that for sure. Vladislav asked, is Vlad, or I don't know what name you prefer to go by, but something in that ballpark, I imagine. There's a local kinky event in my city, but I keep procrastinating for months because I don't know what to wear. I've never been to such events before. I am a male and I'm a switch. Oh, you have so many options. Okay. So standard outfit for a kink event for a masculine person is going to be, get ready for this, black pants, black top. If you're a switch, you could potentially wear maybe some kind of like chain collar. You could wear both a key and a lock. You could accessorize, maybe have like leather cuffs. Maybe you have some other kind of like cute accessory that you already have that you could wear alongside that. But it is very easy, and the bar is in hell, and no one's going to expect anything from you, especially the first time in a munch. And I actually might not dress up for a first munch because a lot of places are very casual. My experience on the West Coast is because it's in a public setting, you're not going to wear your kink finery. You're probably going to show up wearing either what you wore to work that day or casual clothes. So graphic t-shirt, cargo pants, that kind of thing. You might see some people wearing kilts if they're like a kilt person. Or I actually know somebody that like they wear suits to like everything. So they were like always in a suit for any kink happening, munch or dungeon or otherwise. But yeah, I think probably just like keeping it really, like, I think maybe you're overthinking it because you're procrastinating is maybe what's happening here. Is like, no one's going to be like, I'm not going to talk to that guy because his outfit wasn't good enough. Like, if you show up wearing a leather armband or a leather strap around your wrist and a black t-shirt and a black pair of pants and a nice pair of boots. That's it. That's all you need. Because you don't want to wear anything too kinky. Like, the limit of it is probably, like, metal collar, and that's it. If you're wearing, like, and maybe if you're okay being, like, tagged in public as a weirdo, maybe, like, a pair of ears. Maybe a tail. Maybe. But any further than that is probably going to be pushing the limits of what's acceptable at a munch anyways. So, like, don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. Just, if you have good, clean clothes, clean, not wrinkled, you took a shower, you smell nice, your boots are in good kit, unless you're going to get boot blacked at the event, that's all you need. Don't worry about it so much. Maybe a leather jacket if it's chilly outside, if you want to wear one, but that's it. I have one shirt I wear for every munch. It's a fancy gold and red Indonesian batik pattern, and it goes down well. I've even seen people go in Lord of the Rings costumes. What? Oh, that's funny. I like that. Yeah. If you want to, like, you can find your thing, and you might be, like, the Hawaiian shirt guy. Like, some people have a shtick for, like, what they wear to munches. Like, they're the Hawaiian shirt guy. They're the graphic t-shirt guy. They're the insert type of guy here. But really, it comes down to different types of shirts. Or, like, the kilt guy, right? Like I was saying. I don't know about, I'm not talking about anyone specifically with any examples I'm giving. Maybe a harness underneath. Oh yeah, some people will wear like a leather harness, like a really simple minimalistic one, or there were something under clothing, but that's like a different thing. That's a different thing. At the events I've been to, Cookie Monster pajama pants, latex wear, kilts, none of it would raise an eyebrow. Yeah. Latex is like borderline. It depends. Some places are going to be okay with latex in public. I've also been to venues where, like, you know, latex allergies are a thing, and like it's the most kink identifiable garment you could possibly pick to wear. So if you're brand new to a munch and you don't know the environment, showing up in latex might be unwelcome, because you're gonna make it more obvious that the thing that's going on is kinky, even if the rest of your outfit. Like, you could wear maybe, like, if you were gonna do that, if you're alternative, you could maybe get away with wearing PVC boots, latex pants, and like a non-latex top, like a mesh, or maybe you have like a really destroyed like knitted sweater. Like, that's the kind of outfit I would wear. Is like, I'd wear like PVC pants, PVC boots, distressed sweater with like straps and shit, and like that would be a perfectly acceptable outfit. But I also have piercings and tattoos and black hair, and so if I wear that kind of thing in public, it's not necessarily pegged as kinky immediately. So I have a little bit more leeway than the average person might. All right, I'm going to try to get to one more question, and then we are somehow, every single time I stream, I'm like, it's been 2 hours. It goes by so fast. How have I been talking for so long? And yet here we are. But not going to lie, I am looking forward to eating a salad and putting my blankets in a dryer and snuggling up and then writing probably for the rest of the night. So I'm good on that. Basically, pants are the only thing you could get away with. I mean, essentially, yes. I think everything else is like a little too kink-coded. Maybe a latex jacket. Maybe you could do latex pants and latex jacket, because it looks enough like PVC. But also depends, right? If you have external genitalia, do not wear skin-tight latex pants to a munch. The reason why should be obvious. Just saying. Don't put the family jewels on display at the munch in your latex underwear, okay? Be polite. Your munch outfit should make an entrance, but not a scene. That is... I'm gonna steal that for when I inevitably eventually make a video about like what to wear to an event or a munch, because that's perfect. That is a great thing. If you want to make an entrance, which some people are like, I just want to be in the background. I don't even want anyone to know that I'm here. I just want to, just don't notice me. Don't notice me, let me be a wallflower. And sometimes being a wallflower and like not noticeable until you get a vibe of the space is the good call. They also take forever to peel off. They do. They really do. Okay. It's not a red letter media. References that only I will understand to myself. Okay, I apparently got like 10,000 questions about SPH. That's the theme for today. I have an SPH kink, which is small penis humiliation, and my girlfriend is having trouble with it. Any advice? She doesn't know what to say or do and is scared of the subject. I love it though. All right, here's the thing, buddy. If you have behaved towards your girlfriend the way that you have behaved in my chat, I think we understand the source of the issue because you asked the same question 4 times in a row. I suspect, as a guess, you are being too pushy. Go back and watch my videos on how to introduce a kink to a partner. And I think what you are doing is you are trying to get to a yes and not listening to a no. If your girlfriend is having trouble with this, if it makes her uncomfortable, if she is, as you say, scared of the subject, I think that you need to do some background work before you get to the point of actually engaging in this kink with your girlfriend and pushing her into doing it when it makes her scared to do so and she does not know how to handle the topic. All right, got to be real careful with kink. We're not trying to traumatize anybody. We're not trying to violate anybody's consent. And she might be verbally telling you, oh, okay, yeah, sure, we can try it. But you got to listen for the nonverbal no's. And based on only what you've told me, I would take this if a partner was behaving like, if I went to a partner and I was like, I'm really into blood. How do you feel about blood? Would you like to cut me to do this, that, and the other? And I had a partner who was like, ooh, that kind of scares me actually a little bit. That would be a no. That would just be like, oh, well, like, no problem. Never mind. Moving on. Don't need to do that with you. It's fine. Like, I would not push. If my partner ever told me, unless they were like, I like being afraid. If the follow-up was, I like fear play, different thing. But if they're like, that kink, I'm scared of it, I don't know how to do with it, you need to back way the fuck up. And like, you need to, if she's open to a conversation seriously, you need to talk about like, probably, hey, like, I remember you said that this kind of scared you. Can we really talk about that a little bit more? Like, what about this makes you scared? And do not, for the love of God, do not turn this into a I'm trying to change your mind conversation. It should only be a I'm trying to understand you better situation. And maybe if you want it, then adding in some, and here's how it is for me, and helping you understand more. Because she might tell you, like, I'm scared because, like, I don't want to have to, like, be your dom, or I think that it might mean this or that other thing. It might be helpful to share information about, like, small penis humiliation from, like, experts, like, psychological experts. Like, I think Justin LaMiller has some good blog articles about small penis humiliation. Like, find scientific resources to share from, where you can be like, hey, so if you're worried about this thing, here's this thing you might want to know, or this, or like helping your partner understand like the psychology of it for you, what you get out of it, and making room for their fears and their discomfort and acknowledging that and recognizing it. But you might have already pushed it too far. I'm sad to say. You might have already pushed it a little bit too far. And on that note, unless it's a, yeah, that sounds fun, but it's intimidating, it's a no, I need to drop it. Yeah. This is like, I'm giving a maybe for like, if they're like, I'm nervous about this because I've never done anything kinky before and I don't understand it and I want to, then you can have conversations where you're getting clarity. But don't push your fucking girlfriend, my dude. You're not going to get what you want. But I know it's like hard being a male submissive or a bottom or a masochist or anything like that, especially if you're straight. I'm so sorry. But yeah, it's rough. To be fair, I didn't think my questions were sending. I've only asked her once and she was interested and tried, but then it made her feel gross and we never discussed again. Oh, I see. Okay, so we're dealing with a disgust reaction. Okay, fair. You didn't know that your questions are going through because you can't see my Q&A. Okay, fair. Maybe made a snap judgment on my part there. So, okay, we're not pushing. That's a good step. Okay, so obviously we've already established not going to play again. But I would maybe give it a little bit of time. Give it a break. I don't know how soon ago this happened, but I would give it like maybe 2 weeks and then casual conversation, bringing it back up again and say, just say up front, You know, I know that we maybe don't have to just we tried something that didn't work out a couple weeks ago, and I just wanted to check in how you're feeling about that. Like, just as I'm trying to understand you, what's going on in your head kind of thing. And then if she like still is like shutting down really quickly and is like, I don't want to talk about it, I'm gonna go there, you can't make her open up. But if she like is getting emotional and wants to talk about her feelings about it, then you have some opportunity to discuss, okay, I hear that, like, you know, this kind of grossed you out and you weren't into it. Can we talk more about like what that is? I want to understand what happened for you so it doesn't happen again. And it could be like, maybe it made her feel weirdly about you. Maybe she felt weird about herself. Maybe the activity just kind of squicked her out. Like, if you can tease apart what about it is provoking the disgust reaction, you're either going to know for sure if it's not a place you can ever go again, or other option is maybe it's like, okay, well, like, you're having some feelings about, you're afraid of like what it means about you as a person to be somebody who's like humiliating their partner this way. And like, that's something that you can work with. Like, and if they're interested in it, you can maybe troubleshoot, like, okay, well, if you're open to the idea as a later conversation, maybe we could talk more about how to like help you not feel that way in the future, even if not for this activity, but just like in the future if it does ever come up again, because like it probably will come up if you end up like sexually experimenting at all. But that is that on that. It is 5 over. Again, I am tired. I am sleepy. I need food. Thank you all so much for all your questions. I really appreciated them. We're tuckered out here. Stay safe. Have fun, y'all. Drink your water. Wear your sunscreen. I'll talk to you again very soon. Bye. Yeah, I know. I said the word, huh? I said goodbye, didn't I, sweetheart? I know. That's what happens. You just wait for that word. Hi, my girl. How are you, sweetheart? How are you, my darling? Little tail wags, yeah. Little tail wags. Come over here. Come over here. You're just going to sit and you're going to wag your tail. Okay, we're just going to say we're going to wag our tail. All right, anyways. Good night, guys. Bye.